Boom. All right. So, welcome to the trainings this week, guys. I'm excited to talk to you guys about this week's topic, which is really about being needed. This week, this topic was inspired by some of my own growth and experience over the last 2 weeks, where I became kind of paralyzed in doing this work, being exposed, being more out there this way. And it really came up clearly in my work that it was about being needed, and I needed to start shedding that internalized expectation of myself that if I'm valuable, that means I'm needed. If I'm needed, that means I'm valuable. Got a little loop there, right? And so that's what inspired today's or this week's focus, which is on, do you need to be needed or do you need to be loved? Okay. So a good while ago, it's like 2011, 2012, I was doing some research on this really deep need to be needed, and I was wrestling with it at that time too, because there's a big question in codependency. Who am I if I'm not needed? Do I exist? Am I invisible? Do I matter? And this really comes from the discard trauma. And I was trying to figure out how to heal this, how to work with this, what was really going on. And I ran into an article written by a lady named Shari Schreiber. It's called, Do You Need to Be Loved or Do You Need to Be Needed? And it really broke open my awareness about this craving, this addiction to being needed, to being valuable to other people. And it really kick-started this deep dive into my own awareness about how I was basically selling myself out, emptying myself for other people. This is where I got a lot of insight about my own people-pleasing, my own fixing habits, and I was able to start looking at them differently, and then I developed some tools to help us heal that. This is a big deal because it affects us in one of the most critical areas that we live with. If we've gone through the discard trauma, that means you have experienced rejection and abandonment in your identity, in your sense of value, and your sense of connection, because those are the three areas that the discard trauma impacts. And for us to compensate for that, we move into codependent tendencies like people-pleasing, fixing, enabling, rescuing, and things like that. And one of the things we discover because of this trauma, we actually discover being needed because of the neglect the trauma includes with it. Okay, guys? You do not become codependent just because of the over abuse. You become codependent because of what's not happening. And that's very important to understand. The need to be needed is a direct response to what we were not given while growing up. We were not given positive affection. We were not given positive attention. We were not given positive time. We were not given positive reflection or affirmation of our beingness. Instead, we were given affection, attention, and time when we did something that made the other person feel a certain way. This is where the people-pleasing, fixing dynamic came in, because we're starving for attention. We're starving to know if we matter, if we belong, right? We're wondering if we even exist half the time. Am I invisible? Do they even see me? Do they care? Do I matter to them? And then we do something, like they have a pain, and we empathically respond to that pain. And they're like, thank you so much for doing that. I really love how you respond to my pain or how you take care of me. And that is a huge validation for us. That's like getting a shot in the arm. Like, ooh, yeah, they see me. I'm valuable to them. They like me. I matter. I exist to them. And then they withdraw naturally because their world is all about them. So the attention goes back to them. And then they have some more pain and we respond to that. Or they have a desire and we respond to that. And then boom, we're starting to see a cycle here. In our awareness, our brilliance starts to catch onto this pattern of they respond to me when I do this and they don't when I do that. So I'll do more of this. And often that more is pleasing, enabling, fixing, controlling, all the codependent habits. This is how we learned to believe that we need to be needed. Okay? When in reality, what we functionally needed was actually to be loved. So earlier today, I posted one of my listicle thingies, and it says, to be loved and to be needed. This is contrasting deliberately so your brain can start to see the difference between it. Because being needed is not being loved. Being needed is being used as a utility for someone else's benefit. It's not even service to the person. Because if we're going to come from service, like we want to do something for someone we care about, that we love, that we adore, that would bring them joy, we're serving them. Okay? But this comes from a dimension of kindness and contribution. We're not doing it so we feel better about our value. We're not doing it so we have a sense of existence or importance to this person. We're doing it because we just want to contribute to it. And they positively appreciate it. They're already seeing us and valuing us for who we are, for our presence and our existence, outside of us doing those kind things for them. That's the difference here. When we need to be needed, this is how we're earning love. This is how we're trying to earn affection and connection and commitment and belonging. And this is why people don't keep us, because it's not about connection for them. It's like, yeah, you're making me feel good. Thanks. Oh, do it some more. Yeah, more. Of course they're going to want that. And most people aren't very attuned to these things. And so they're just like, oh, it's so nice that you're giving this to me. And then you're like, why aren't you giving me something? Where's the reciprocation here? And you're like, they don't love me. They don't value me. But then you get hooked on that cycle again. I'm going to run after them. Oh, they have a need. Feed the need. Oh, maybe they'll like me this time. No. It's you're living in the consumer supply cycle of the discard experience. Okay? And this doesn't even just happen with narcissistic people. This can happen with people who are unaware about what's going on. Like if you're developing a relationship or you're in connection with someone who's you're giving a lot to and they're really appreciative, but you have this expectation that they're going to reciprocate to you in some way and they're not, you're still trying to earn their affection, their time, their attention. So needing to be needed shows up in a variety of ways. And we see it with work, we see it with purpose, we see it in jobs, we see it in business, we see it with our children, with pets, with civic duties, with doing activist work. We're looking for purpose, we're looking for meaning and for value. We're looking for those three things that got harmed and discarded and the discard trauma with the narcissistic or abusive, toxic, or at least at a minimum, emotionally unavailable and immature person, right? And that's our sense of value, that's our identity, and that's our sense of connection. When we have those three things back, we discover ourselves and we can see the world through a different lens that allows us to develop healthy, reliable, stable relationships, build businesses and careers that we like, and be happy in our brand happiness, right? So if we're really serious about healing, if we're really serious about getting beyond codependency, getting beyond narcissistic abuse, we have to tackle this. We have to take some courage and go, yep, I'm a person that needs to be needed right now. And now I've got to take the courageous act and also admit that I need to be loved. That's the first thing hey, Trish, from Hawaii. Hi, Michelle. It's essential we admit this, because if we don't, we're going to live in our fantasy that being needed means I'm being loved. And it's... Come on, guys, admit the pain. Admit the emptiness and the loneliness that comes in with being needed. Because when they don't need you, do you feel like you exist? Do you feel like you matter? Do you wonder if they even care? Do you start looking for things to fix or to please? Do you get anxious? Does your mind start to race? Like, oh God, I don't know what my value is. Maybe they're going to leave me. Maybe they're going to abandon me. See, we're dealing with the big stuff there. And we've got to address that. And it starts with admitting, hey, man, I need to be needed. I'm a needy junkie. I'm a junkie for being needed. When we really can admit to it, then we can start admitting what's really going on. And that is deep within us, we need to be loved. We need to be loved from others. And we need to be loved from ourselves. We have to restore our connection back to our identity, to our value, and to our to connection in general with ourselves, with others in life. we get there by admitting, hey, yep, I've been trying to meet my needs by being needed, by selling myself out, by discarding myself and becoming what other people need, by displacing my needs and making theirs priority, by denying how I feel about this, denying my own resentment, my own guilt, my own shame, my own fear, my own anger. There can be a lot of anger when we start healing codependency because of everything we've given and everything we didn't receive in return. That kind of thing. So that's what I want you to think about today is, am I a person that's seeking to be needed? Am I willing to admit that? Am I willing to take a deep dive here and actually face that? Because when you can own it, then you can heal it. Okay? And that's what I do, guys. I've got the whole system to heal this, but it's really what my passion is, because a lot of people are out there looking for information and understanding it. So that's why I provide all the information for free. It's just like, here, have it all. But the tools are what I focus on, and how we heal the need to be needed is a process of reconnection back to self, back to what's called intrinsic value, because there's two values that are at play here, okay? So we have what's called the appreciation for existence value. This means I am valued for being. I'm valued for showing up. Hi Shaylee. Hi. It's 1:30. What, are you at school? So you should be at school. So I'll have to text you. Shaylee's my daughter. She's supposed to be at school. So yeah. But we have two values. We have the value of the appreciation of our existence. I mean, have you been appreciated for existing? I'm betting it's not been very common. I bet you it'd be pretty foreign if someone said, hey, I'm really happy you exist. I'm grateful you're here. I just enjoy your presence. I enjoy your energy. Thank you for being who you are. Hey, let's hang out. Yeah, it's not a common thing we're going to have in this experience. It's not going to happen very often if we're in that transactional consumer supply relationship model where we're giving ourselves up to please somebody else so we can feel valued, feel needed, right? Important to understand. Because once we start really appreciating our value, the fact that we exist and that's all that matters, we don't have to prove it, we don't have to justify it, we are worth knowing, loving, and keeping both to ourselves and to others, then we can deal with the second value, which is the value or the appreciation of contribution. This is the doing this. This is what we contribute, what we do. And that should be a very small segment compared to the value we experience from the appreciation of existence or being. That's what we have to heal. We have to heal our relationship with our beingness. Because right now, the discard trauma, the abuse from the narcissist, being objectified and having to please and sell ourselves out and stuff like that, taught us to feel shame, taught us to feel that we were selfish, to belittle, to dismiss, to disregard our innate value. And we had to do that in order to survive the threat of being thrown away, being abandoned, being ignored. And to a child, that means death. So we're really trying to avoid that. And as an adult, that means isolation, which also leads to death. I mean, we're really dealing with a social, emotional abandonment there. So I'm going to talk more about this as we go along over this week and next week, because this feeds into how we feel connected, how we heal loneliness, how we start regenerating healthy relationships, things like that. So September is going to be a fun month that way. But today I want you to take some time and get honest with yourself about where you need to be needed. Identify where you have that need to be needed. It's like, I need to be needed in love, or I need to be needed with my children, or at my work, or my business. Once you can identify it, then tomorrow we're going to start playing with it a little bit. Okay? Give you an introduction to how I work with this, give you some tools to work with, strategy to approach it so you can break free from it. And you can start to experience a new reality that's based on the fact you exist. Okay? So that's your homework for today, guys. That's what I want you to explore. I appreciate you. I know this can be a tough topic. It was one of the hardest things I have faced. I still wrestle with it. It came out really loud last week, and I'm like, oh, I need to be needed. I need to get in there, and I need to love the aspect of myself that's felt discarded and denied. So, yeah, I hear you, Trisha. It really is a difficult subject. It's hard. It's hard. You're not alone in this. I'm with you. I'm still wrestling it with myself. So I'm excited to give you guys that tools and strategies I use to help you break through this. So we can heal, because we really are worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Now we just got to experience it for ourselves. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's training. You guys have a great day. And remember, you're worth knowing, loving, and keeping. Talk with you soon. Bye-bye, guys.